This is a project that really started about 2 years ago in the making, and over that time, these artists traveled together to paint at 4 different ranches across the state. There was Exbar Ranch in the Guadalupe Mountains, then Caldwell Ranch in the Davis Mountains, so both far west Texas, then Hershey Ranch in the Hill Country, right outside Fredericksburg, and then down at Powderhorn Ranch, which is down on the Gulf Coast, kind of near Matagorda area. But we are so honored and excited to have 4 of our favorite artists, part of our gallery family for a long time, and we're just excited for everyone to be here today. Mary Margaret Albritton, who's been with the gallery for a decade, she and I are going to just kind of go back and forth asking questions, kind of wanting to hear more about your experience working on this project, and we're excited to talk with you about it. So just wanted to kind of pause at the first question is, how did this first get started? How did the idea for the show come about?
Don't look at me.
It was you. It really did.
Well, it started with you because you invited us to go to Expo.
Yeah, so a young man who's a new art appreciator, what's the word, aficionado?
Collector.
He bought one of my paintings at the Gage Gallery in Marathon, and then he contacted me and said, would you come paint the family ranch? And I'm thinking, yeah, probably not. but then he sent me pictures. And then I thought, you know, when can I start? Because it was the one in the Guadalupe Mountains, and it was really unique and amazing.
The ones you're seeing, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. And when I got there and I was painting and working, I thought, you know what? I have some friends that need to paint this place. So I asked the family if they would mind if I brought 3 friends, and I thought that might be a little rude because I was a guest, but they were really all over it. And they said, yeah, bring them on. And then these guys came on.
And it's been great ever since. Yeah. We just
Well,
started painting.
but so on that first trip that I took anyway, we went through the Davis Mountains on the way back.
Yeah.
So at what point did we say, hey, let's do a show that's going to be 4x2 or 4x4?
I think that was the second time we did it.
I didn't know if that was you guys or
No, we
think y'all brought it to us.
Well, I think Sarah was involved in
But Mike was talking about how last night Mike Forrest, who's one of the X-Bar, one of the owners there, and he was saying that we talked about it in their kitchen. But that must have been the
you know
second.
what? We had some good beverages in their kitchen.
There's a lot of
So maybe, yeah.
yeah.
But
So
I think for all of you that this had been kind of an idea that had been happening over time with different commissions and projects that had been happening on requests from ranch owners, and then of course painting for the state parks project, and really getting out all across the state, which you were all already doing. But I think when an opportunity like this presented itself, it started thinking, well, okay, well, X-Bar out here, and Andy Sampson, who was part of the Texas State Parks Centennial Project, as well as the Rivers Texas Art Book that all of these artists were a part of in 2017. Andy's involved with the Hershey Ranch, which is part of, kind of undergoing a conservation easement type situation in the Hill Country, and that just led itself to
balloon, yeah.
And the other thing was that we found out we kind of liked each other.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know these guys that well.
We had painted in Big Bend together before.
Yeah, we did, but we were
Times.
more painting than we weren't staying in the same place.
Right,
So
that's
it wasn't quite as
And so we
close
enjoyed
quarters.
that part, yeah.
The other, y'all go into kind of how it worked when you were invited by these ranches, and they put them up and wine and dine.
feed us and
Oh yeah.
But kind of,
which we were shocked by. We did not expect. In fact, the first time we had so much food because we brought food for ourselves and a little extra because we know. and then they had like this huge spread.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
At the X-Bar, they really treated us so nice.
Yeah, they were cool. Of course, so was Pam at the Heart Ranch. That was incredible too.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
say that, but.
So tell us a little bit about your process. I mean, I know every ranch, every location that you get together is different, but are you going out as a group? Are you side by side? Are you each kind of, how does it work?
Typically, Mary and I, she drives because she knows how to drive those gator, whatever those things are.
4x4.
Because we have to go
He
in the
didn't drive.
water, and then the two of them
Yeah.
usually go. But sometimes all four of us are together. You
Yeah.
know, like in the morning or something, we'll find a place. Well,
We kind of talk about it. So where do you want to go? Where do you? And then
Yeah.
so sometimes we split up, and sometimes we didn't.
So we're usually somewhat close by, and then Mary will disappear. and like 2 or 3 hours later, she's back.
And are you guys photographing and plein air painting?
Yes,
Both, yeah.
definitely doing
Yeah.
both for sure.
And when you get there, so obviously some of these locations you've been to multiple times, but the first times, are the ranch families, are they taking you around, kind of showing you their favorite
At
spots?
the beginning, they
Yeah.
letting you,
At the beginning, they showed us around. Yeah. And then they let us loose.
Really, the only
Four-wheelers.
place where we
Promise
didn't have that was at the Powderhorn, because it's not a private ranch anymore. It's owned by the, I guess, Parks and Wildlife.
yes, wildlife.
And so we were dealing with park rangers, and they just said, "Here's the house, and here's your bunk
Here's
beds."
your bunk bed, haul ass.
Put it
And-
back the way it was.
And yeah, and we were pretty much left to drive around and paint wherever we wanted, which was fine too.
Yeah.
What was it like getting to know the different families and being in, on their family properties and
well, they become friends.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
really
exactly.
good friends.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all good people.
Yeah.
Exactly. When I think Mary and I were already friends with Pam, so that wasn't anything new. And you guys knew her maybe.
I knew Pam,
but not that.
for a while. I hadn't been out there or anything.
Right.
But the Forrest family that owns the X Bar, we found out they're so philanthropic and
Yeah,
they
are.
do so many amazing things. They have 2 different homes for people with Down syndrome,
Yeah.
and they're just so humble and the hardest working and hardest partying people I've ever met. So we
Yeah.
really enjoyed getting to know them.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
So when you're out there, are y'all, okay, so I know every situation's a little different, but say you all find a location that you're all interested in some aspect of it. And I think that's been one thing we were fascinated with as we were unveiling all of the paintings as they came in, that some of them would be from a similar perspective or a same spot or location, something that they were all captured, but each interpretation was so different. So I was wondering, are y'all sitting there side by side? Are you knocking each other over?
I usually sit behind Noe and just copy what you
I copied off for you.
We're bad copiers because none of them look alike.
Well, the Powderhorn was difficult because it rained the whole time. And so we'd only have 2 nights where the clouds would break for
It
about
was-
15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'd go out
Yeah,
and-
we basically
Yeah,
were
but
in
we
the
had
same
great
place.
clouds though, so there
Yeah.
was that. We didn't paint much, but we took pictures.
And there was lots of mosquitoes,
Yeah.
so that was a challenge.
But the beds were great.
The beds were really good.
Well, it's better than a car. She's a famous car camper, so she keeps telling me I should go car
yeah.
camping. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Actually, the car is better than those bunk beds.
Oh, I know. At least we had a bathroom to go to.
Oh, yeah.
No, it worked out pretty good.
So do y'all each of you have a favorite memory or favorite painting or story, something you'd want to share with us?
Well, y'all almost rolled a buggy one time.
That was scary.
Oh man, that was bad.
Yeah.
I
I
thought,
wasn't.
I didn't know Ross was scared because Ross was driving.
no, I was driving.
You were
knucklehead.
driving?
Yes. Yes.
I thought Ross was driving.
No, he led us up there, and then you and I went on, and then there was no way to turn around. I mean, you're only on the little road,
that.
so I had to get off and get back on the road, and
Yeah, 'cause
it's nothing but rocks.
Because that's from way, way up on this big mountain. We're huge. It's just way up there, and it's this craggy road, and I don't know. There's a one.
It was.
part
I
that's
really
bad.
thought I was going over,
Yeah.
but it didn't. Of course, Jeri said, "I'm going to stand over here while you turn around."
Okay, so then it happened twice because Ross
Ross
really.
almost tumped it too.
Ross definitely almost tumped it over.
Yeah.
He admitted after we were done that he got
started
scared.
sliding down a little bit.
Because he was trying to, the gate was locked and he couldn't find the key, so he was
Right.
going around the gate and there wasn't much going around and
Yeah, that's what it was.
That was very scary.
And y'all wonder why I walk, okay?
Yeah. Thank goodness we didn't have to call EMS out there. Anyway.
But there were a lot of really good moments, really beautiful moments.
Yeah.
This X-Bar Ranch, they have a wonderful house, and they're so gracious. But they have a lot of wildlife, and they have herds of elk every morning that you can see from you're drinking coffee in the kitchen, and there's a herd of elk walking across this big open area. They have an orchard, grow apples or cherries or something. And yeah, it's a beautiful place.
And how long has that been in their family?
I believe Ross, the young man, his grandfather put it together. So it hasn't been, so it's 3 generations.
Yeah.
And he didn't inherit it. From hard work, he put it together. But it's got this creek that runs through it, but it really runs, and it's crystal clear.
A lot of water.
I don't even think it has a name. And it's not seasonal, it's year-round.
Yeah.
So it's a magical place.
I think
There were a few scary times going over the creek, too.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
the creek was
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
difficult in places.
Yeah. Like you have to navigate it just exactly right, or it would tip the
Yeah.
four-wheeler over.
I think the CCC came in there during the Depression and tried to find some way to divert some of the water, because I would say that if you've all ever been to Garner, it's about that much water as the Frio at Garner. And I think they did a little reservoir, and then they tried to maybe even move it, get some water over to one of the other ranches, but they built this huge facility that no longer stands, but a place for all the workers.
During the CCC.
Yeah.
Is that where that fireplace was? Okay. Yeah. There's a fireplace just in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just by itself.
And there's a cemetery on the
Yeah,
property.
that's right. Forgot about that. I think all of us could easily do a whole nother show just from what we've done already. I mean, it's just endless.
Yeah.
But we want to go
Possible.
back anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we always want to go back.
Yeah.
So all of you have been painting around the state of Texas, at least the past decade. Some of you 30, 40 years, just kind of depends. What do you have a favorite area or part of the state? Can you really tell a difference between, the lighting out in far west Texas versus South Texas? And I feel like that's one thing that a lot of artists talk about is how different, geographically, but even just how different the state is. And you each seem to excel in different areas. And
Well, yeah, this project was good. I always paint in West Texas, so
Yes,
this
Noe
got me
probably
out of my
knows.
zone.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it
paint
forced
both.
us to go to new places,
Yeah.
which was fun and challenging.
It was.
But absolutely, the light is different. I mean, you don't have to go very far. The humidity and the light and just the way things show up way differently. I typically paint South Texas, and it's always so humid. And, plein air is a real challenge because it's very windy. And
talk about the
and
dust,
hot,
Noe.
and the dust.
Noe was freaking out because he had this new car, and it was like
Oh my
dust.
Had dust on his car.
So Jeri and I go up to his back window. We're writing our names in the dust.
He wasn't happy.
Being-
He would find that amusing.
Oh my
Excited
gosh.
himself about the
Being
dust.
at the Caldwell was nothing but red dust. Oh, it was
And
awful.
we're all used to it.
And
but
my
for
white
him, it
car
a
was
new
just
thing.
covered.
Yeah. You got upset with me. I kind of got lost a little while, and then you got really mad at me. But it worked out okay. I just took off, and I thought, oh, they'll catch up to me, and they never did. And I just went back to the ranch, and they're thinking I'm like snake bit
Maybe
somewhere. I
a bear took her or something. I don't know.
Noe, do you think that now that you've explored those other areas, are you now thinking you like being in those spaces and the more, hilly or western parts, and that you might go back, or are you just like, I've been there, done that, and I'm going to go back to South?
Well, I'm definitely going to go back to South Texas. That's not going to go away. But no, I enjoyed it. For me, I think it was probably the biggest stretch to do the Guadalupes and the Caldwell Ranch. But I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a good change. But then I'm ready to go back and do my usual thing. Yeah.
In your work in the past, do you entertain and engage in commissions, or is this like the first time you do what sort of is a commission, being coached to do one thing?
I have done a couple of projects where I was asked to, do basically one subject, one ranch. So
so modest.
it's
It was
good.
the King Ranch.
It was.
Oh yeah.
It was good,
Yeah.
which was great. I mean, that was a great project for me. But it's still restricting. Even if they tell you, what would you rather paint more than anything else? And you say this, they say, okay, I want 20 paintings of that. By the time you get to number 10, you're like, I'm ready to do something else. Yeah. So no matter how targeted that is, you're ready to just be free of whenever you do a commission, you're thinking about, okay, how are they going to view this? Am I interpreting what they saw in this scene or whatever they want? And it kind of frees you, or it ties you to what you've done before, because you say, they chose me to do this because they liked what I did over here. So I can't vary off of that very much, or they may not like it. So commissions are a real challenge,
We'll never see those paintings. Right, they're not going to go into a public.
Right, that's true.
Well, the King Ranch were.
Well, yeah, it did.
They traveled around the state and are in a book, but they're with the family.
And then a movie and
The movie's coming.
yeah, we've been kidding him a lot because he's so famous now. But he's still humble about it, so
Yeah.
we're okay.
But we still have fun teasing.
Commissions will be lent to different museum shows and things like that.
But largely, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
They're done
For the family.
for the family or the client, and they are always a challenge, and especially as a gallerist trying to kind of mediate between the artist and the client expectations, and it can always be a challenge.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there are. I think we all probably have some good stories of things we've learned from and what to look for and not do.
And regardless of how wonderful people are to work with, it's still that pressure of
Yeah.
not being able to.
Olive has a question.
I had a question that maybe not be relevant at all, but when I think about what each of you have done, so many years of painting out in that landscape, and the first time I saw that landscape 30 years ago, I could only think of how many stories there must be in these rocks and these hills and in these canyons, and I wonder if you all have that same sense of, as you paint, of how many stories, or of any particular story that you might know about that place. And to what extent does that have any bearing on the way you paint?
I don't think it has a bearing on the way I paint. It's just, it's cool to think about that, though, when you're standing out there and thinking, Native Americans could have been camping right here.
Think
Probably
about that
were.
a lot, the Indians.
Yeah, but I don't know that it changes how I paint, though. But I like thinking about that, for me anyway. I thought about that a lot when I painted Palo Duro, especially, because of the good and tragic history that happened there. That crosses my mind.
And Jeri, I think about your show, that was with William Reeves, who is the former gallery owner, where Jeri was painting in the footsteps of Frank Gray, who was painting Texas 100 years ago when the land was not fenced in and just open ranges, and being able to travel to those same locations and areas and see how different the land looks today as it did 100 years ago, and your work is very part of that ongoing, those stories, those ongoing.
Well, plus, also, I remember there's one geographical feature that I wanted to paint that he did in Tool Canyon, and I couldn't figure out which one it was, but I realized it was just the lighting changed from when he did it and when I did it, and just if you're not there at the same time, it looks like a totally different
Right.
thing. So I don't know what that matters, but anyhow.
David, what about you?
I think the stories that come to my mind when I'm out there painting have to do with ancient time, the geology, the Cretaceous limestone of X-Bar Ranch, and in Big Bend, much more recent rocks, and rocks even much older than the Cretaceous. The Caballos Range outside of Big Bend is quite old, and I think about that a lot when I'm painting.
Do you think about dinosaurs roaming around?
Yeah, sure.
I've never thought about that. I'm going to have to go out next time. I'll be like, okay, the dinosaurs walked around.
A lot of dinosaurs.
I guess they
been
walked
found in
around
Big
here
Bend.
too, for that matter.
Yeah.
When you pack up after several days, is the painting finished, or you take it back and think about it and finish it, or when you walk and pack it up into the truck or whatever you're in, are each of these paintings finished?
I usually, if I'm lucky, they're finished. And most of them are, the little ones. Sometimes I take them back and look at them and maybe tweak them a little bit, but not too much or I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the process when you're back in the studio and you have your photographic references, your plein air studies, and you're looking through, you're sorting, all of your potential subject matter, and how do you select? Is there
Oh, yeah.
a process for
It's
that?
hard sometimes because you have more sketches and photographs and ideas from one place. If it's a good trip, then you're going to be able to make paintings. So you really have to narrow it down. That's what I do. And then I make thumbnails, and then I make sketches from those and the photographs, and then I try not to look at the photographs anymore. And then I make the large paintings. So that's my process. The hard part is choosing them because there's so many.
Huh.
Yeah. Is that how you do it, David?
Very, very similar. I mean, really, it's. I mean, certainly I know the way you work, much the way so a lot of your skies are invented in the studio. They're not exactly what we saw, but maybe
Yeah.
the same time of day or late afternoon. But you make compositional decisions, as do I in the studio, and so there's a certain amount of invention that happens.
Yeah. And some of them I get back and I see a sketch and I'm thinking, what? Where did that come from?
I do that with photos. I'm like, why in the world did I
Yeah.
take a picture of that?
What about you, Noe?
Yeah, I work, to answer your first question, when I do a sketch on location, an oil sketch, I typically never touch that again once it goes in the box. Whether it's, 60% or 75 or 80% complete, I don't mess with those at all. Only because I find that when I do, I'm ruining what was there.
That can happen.
So I don't touch those, and I use my photos and those plein air pieces to compose. Now, if I'm just out in South Texas or wherever painting a kind of a typical landscape, I do compositional changes, I move things around, whatever. I start painting, and even during the painting process, certain things fall out or come back in or are added. However, when I'm doing something like Big Bend, where so many people go every year, and there's Big Bend fanatics who can identify every rock and everything, I have to be really careful and not do too much editing, because people will call you on it. And they'll say, no, that's not true. That doesn't look that way. So I have to be real careful with those.
Yeah. I've been taught forever you need to do thumbnail sketches, and I just don't know why I just don't want to. Just being contrary, I guess. But because I felt like when I did small ones and then I tried to translate them to a big piece, it was like, well, that didn't quite right. And so I just start off with vine charcoal and start playing around with it until I'm satisfied on whatever size I'm doing. So that's usually what I work out, how I work it out. But and I'm not opposed to fixing a plein air painting, but just like Noe said, it's really easy to just ruin it if you do too much. So it's usually just a minor little thing here or there.
I'll tweak them sometimes. Sometimes I don't, but I noticed that I sent you some that were completely off the easel from outside, and you didn't show any of them. They're not that good. my plein air paintings are not that good.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
They're really
They are.
And well, there are a few, like those two stormy ones at Powderhorn.
well, they're coming out.
But anyway, those I did, and there was a real quick sketch of X-Bar with the rock.
The rocks.
Yeah, real quick, but they're just not.
He always says
They're not that good.
It's not true.
Yeah, he's.
I almost did, and I probably have another 40 that I've done at the studio, but I'm too embarrassed to.
Well,
Show 'em
David,
to you.
they are wonderful, and really, if we had more wall space, because we ended up, each artist did such an incredible job, and they sent us, especially with the studies from David, we so rarely see those, and so he sent us this beautiful assortment of the plein air, of the back in the studio in different sizes, and really we were laying them out and able to see the details and moving from one size to the next, and it's incredible. So
They're beautiful because it's your process. So even if you might, but they're beautiful.
I don't know if it's like this with you guys, but when I'm looking at the scene and I finish the little plein air, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I'm usually not that thrilled because the scene is
It's
so
still there.
amazing and
Yeah.
this is so painting.
Right.
And when I get them out, I put them out on the table. I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah,
Right.
okay, maybe they're not quite
Well,
so bad.
especially the farther you get away from them.
Oh yeah,
And that goes
like, I had an
away.
ex-boyfriend that said, yeah, especially like on the next block.
No, I didn't mean distance. I meant time. You can really appreciate them because you're right. You no longer have that.
Yeah, that comparison.
Right.
We were at Hershey, and I think it was the last afternoon, and I was painted out. I was just done. And Mary and I had painted that morning and that afternoon. I came back, and Noe was setting up his easel. By the way, that's when we had the annular eclipse. That was that was so.
I forgot about that. Was cool.
That was incredible, and it was. We were right there and saw that ring. Anyway, I was exhausted, so I pulled up a chair. Noe was out by the house, and he started doing this little painting of this oak tree, and with a light and the shadow breaking across this oak, and it was late in the afternoon. I fixed a bourbon, sat down, and just watched him paint. And in 30 minutes, I mean, it was a finished painting that, could go right to the gallery. And I don't know how and thickly painted. I mean, beautiful impasto, and wow. It's fun. It's fun to sit and just watch someone do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good, David.
It was. It was.
I did not send it to Sarah.
You didn't?
No.
It's a bourbon.
The host individual families, or in that one case, the institution, do they reserve some of these? Do they get some that they have for their collection?
I think a lot of us gave pieces
Try to give them as a gift.
I mean, certainly the X-Bar people.
We don't see those here because they've never got.
Just let them have
We left them in
first
their
pick.
house.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
also have a first right of refusal on
All of these.
They don't send-
Bit of them first, and then we'll work from there.
Yeah.
Being a part of the project is such gracious service that I felt like that was a very fair, reasonable thing to do. And you think, yeah, such beautiful insights. Either way.
Of your works in the gallery, can you each say, like, which is your favorite and why? Or if you don't want to do that, generalize what makes you feel super satisfied with something you've done?
I don't know that I am super satisfied about anything.
Are we ever
No,
super
but I can tell you, and I'm being honest. So, I sit in my studio, as we all do, and do these works, set it aside, do another one, and I think, yeah, that's finished. I like it. Looks good. And then as we get closer to the show, I see Jeri posting paintings, and David, and now I'm like, man, I need to go back and rethink the stuff that I'm doing, because they were posting these fantastic images, and it makes me feel like, man, I don't know that I should even be in this show.
We all felt like that.
I'm going to hit you on the head here in a minute.
But you hang it all out, and it's not really a competition, but you don't want to be the slacker who just threw something out.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of, as I was talking to Marco earlier, it raises the bar when you see what these other guys are doing. It makes you really want to do your best.
I totally agree with that, because I always am like, how am I with these three amazing artists?
Yeah.
I got to step up my game.
Yeah, and that Talking Head song, well, how did I get here? Yeah. This is not my house. Because we all think, why are we with these guys?
Yeah, I think that a lot.
Yeah. We'll just keep faking it along.
I know. We're faking all of you out. You have no idea.
Yeah. We all think that.
Are there any other questions? Yes, I had. First of all, it's just so interesting to see your humility. The each of you on there, you don't see the think that you're very good.
Humility, or is it humiliation?
It's just amazing to be able to enjoy and suck into your work. But I did have a question. The intern who works here, she was studying some of your pastels here, and she noticed that it's pastels on panel.
Right.
And she wanted to know what kind of panel it is that you paint.
Oh, okay. It's called Gator Board, Gator Board, which is kind of like foam core. If anybody knows poster board, it's kind of like a spongy thing. Only it's hard, and I gesso it like did I say that earlier? I don't know. Anyway, I put gesso around all the both sides and the edges, so it's archival. So, but I like it because it's very lightweight, and I can cut it with a utility knife to whatever shape I want. Lob off something if I don't like it. So.
But you prepare them.
Yeah, I prepare it with a matte gel medium that has pumice in it, and I have brush strokes in the panel and a whole process there. So that's kind of how that happens. But
So that's pretty important to your works, just the preparation of
it is.
Yeah.
It helps me. There's times that it's limiting. There's times, I'll find a certain bit of texture that I wish wasn't there, but most of the time I enjoy having that texture. So.
Yes.
What about the future? What about other family ranches or institutions? What about other 4s or 6s of artists? What about another gallery? Is this the first time something like this has been done?
Sarah can answer that. Funny you should ask. This is the first time that we've done something like this. First, some kind of design that I'm aware of, but this project has brought about a lot of interest, and we are in conversations about a possible upcoming book project expanding upon this idea, but really to include additional artists and to include additional ranges, specifically with kind of a focus coming from a conservation easement and the importance of that for private landowners, working with Texas Parks and Wildlife, the state, and kind of this collaboration between public and private lands in the state in the future of that. So more to be discussed, and will be coming up in the next couple months. So, hey, you posted. We're excited.
That means we get to paint together more, so that's always good.
Yep.
It's always good. The three of us are going to be out.
Oh yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
In a week and a half, we're going to
But
be out in Big
Noe's
Bend.
going to be like in Paris at a movie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a trip in a
Yeah.
week.
Well, he's got a big show coming up in Kerrville.
Oh yes.
In November.
And
I
he's
get
got
to
a.
see it in November.
That's a great show, I
And
bet.
I'm still getting ready for it. I mean, I'm
What
still
are the
painting.
dates? What are the
No,
dates?
tell us about that upcoming
Yeah.
exhibition.
It opens. It's a two-man show. Me and a sculptor, Jason Skull, and it's called A South Texas Aesthetic. So we're doing South Texas works. I'll have paintings. He'll have his sculpture. The show opens at the Museum of Western Art in Kerrville on November the 15th, Friday night, I think. And it'll be there probably around a month or something like that. So I'm still, the fact that these two shows ended up a month apart was not the best, but this show had been moving several times, so I did not want to get in the way of moving it again.
Yeah.
So, you'll notice I have the least number of works here. These guys have 2 or 3 times what I did. And part of that is I'm still painting for the show in November, trying to hold works for that. So that's coming
Exciting.
up. And so that's why I can't go with you guys.
All right, that's a good excuse.
Yeah.
The three of y'all are going out to paint this woman out of the big fit. Down near the park on another private ranch that we got permission to do.
Right. But it's not necessarily part of anything, just one thing.
I have a weird question. Is this show going to be able to travel around the state?
Maybe in the future? Not
Maybe
this
like
show.
in conjunction, because they want to do a book about it.
Right.
So with that, I think there's possibility of it traveling then. There's talk about it, who knows?
Of that with the book project. So however that evolves. So yeah, some of these paintings you might see as part of both of those, the book
Yeah,
and the.
but that'll be like at least 3
3
years.
years out. Yeah.
3 years out.
Takes time.
No, the museum show in Kerrville, it's at a museum or is it at a gallery? I mean,
It's a museum, the Museum of Western Art.
so once the show's over, where does one go to buy those? Are they gonna come back here?
Well, they'll be for sale there.
Or they will be, that's what
Yes. Yeah, and whatever doesn't sell probably will wind up here.
And Jeri also has a show coming up in the spring.
I do at the Panhandle Plains Museum in Canyon. That'll be fun. I'm excited.
It'll be out April through October 2025 at the Panhandle Plains Museum, and that is stemming off of her last solo exhibition, which was at the gallery 2 years, year and a half ago, focusing on the Panhandle area around Paladura Canyon and that Caprock Canyon, that whole area, and there's no better venue than where that can. So we're very excited. Yeah. We all have a show coming up. Yeah. Oh, right.
Maybe?
Yeah.
In San
Yes,
Antonio
yes.
at the Hunt Gallery.
Oh, cool.
A
woman
two-person show.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
you
That's
guys?
cool.
Yeah.
Well, they
Oh.
kept that to yourself.
Yeah, really.
No, I'll tell you what, I'll admit, okay. It was gonna be I was gonna do a solo, right?
Uh-huh.
And then David says, I really enjoy painting with you. We ought to have a show together sometime. And I thought, yeah, and he shows there too. And so I thought this would be a great time. And so that's why that worked out.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
when is that?
When is that open?
We think in April.
Okay.
It's not down for sure, but it'll be this next spring.
Well, and David currently is part of a show at the Art Museum of South Texas in Corpus Christi.
Target Texas, which is
One of 6 painters. It's a really nice
I would
show.
too.
Kermit Oliver is one of the other painters. They have several of his works, several of David's beautiful big paintings. So if y'all have a chance, you should go check that out.
And I'll just say one last thing about that. We just found out this week that the Museum of South Texas will be acquiring one of David's paintings from that exhibition.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
Oh, that's great.
4x6 painting, a 5x6 painting
Uh,
of
four-
Big Bend.
4x5.
4x5 painting
Whoa.
of Big Bend that's absolutely exquisite.
Awesome.
And, going into their permanent collection, so we are just so thrilled. But thank you all for being here today. The artists will all be here if you have any other questions for them. But really, we have some refreshments back here. Please have a drink. Enjoy the exhibition. Let us know if you have questions. Thank you so much. And thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.